Hello and welcome to F1 Now. In this video, we're going to be reflecting on the first race of the season in Melbourne and talking about the biggest winners and losers. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so we got the first race of the season already done, and like everyone has said, yes, it was a crazy race to say the least. This race was all about survival of the fittest or most skilled, considering we are talking about the best drivers in the world. Being a wet race meant predictability would be off the charts, especially when trying to figure out who would win, because pole position really wins the race in these conditions. These regulations. And it's not necessarily just because of the cars, but also strategy, I would argue, is the most important part in a wet race, and Ferrari proved that point. Okay, so with the race having a delayed start and so many safety cars, McLaren will have to be coming out of this one looking at the bright side, even though they couldn't keep both cars in the podium positions. With how the race went and how both drivers almost totally bent it in Sector 3 when the rain hit, they will have to count themselves as being one of the lucky ones to still bag the win with Lando. Now, Piastri, I would also say, should appreciate the fact that he still had the opportunity to recover the race and get some points out of it, because it could have looked even worse with them ending at the back and Verstappen potentially getting the first win of 2025. Also, good on Verstappen and Russell for doing their best to keep their noses clean the whole race to secure podium positions in the end. And that leads me to the next big winner, which is Mercedes as a whole. Now, Russell got third in the end, and with all the madness, restarts and the spin, Antonelli was able to move up the field and end right behind his teammates, earning some valuable points. Now, Antonelli would also win the rookie of the race if there were ever such a thing, because it looked like we were losing all of them one by one. I also want to mention Albon and Hülkenberg. Firstly, because Albon was able to make up positions with good strategy calls in the pits and finding himself at 5th position in the end, meaning Williams already has a chunk of points in what looks like a competitive season ahead. Hülkenberg, on the other hand, started in the bottom 5 and somehow found himself in points positions too at the end. So Stake will be breathing a sigh of relief because they didn't have the car today. Now, once again, Ferrari found themselves in the losers category with how bad their strategy calls were and how the SF25s weren't that good in the wet race, considering they were supposedly set up for these conditions. I would say though, maybe at the first half of the race things were looking reasonably good or manageable, but when the rain hit and they got caught out in those fresh hards, it all went south from there. But they took a chance for the lead with Hamilton, but should have not went on an extra lap on those hards in those conditions, because that is what cost Hamilton a possible podium, because Verstappen was right there with him and he pitted. So the team will be coming out of this one scratching their heads, and it feels like the same old problems holding Ferrari back. Now, can you believe that we only ended up with just 2 rookies? Hadjar was the first on formation lap to lose it on the second corner. Duhan was next to trigger the safety car, and surprisingly Carlos suffered an issue on gear changed and also bent it. Another one was also Alonso coming out of turn 6 and slamming on the wall. Couple laps later, Liam and Bortoleto followed the DNF train. Now for Liam, it's going to be tense because he's going to have Horner and Marco breathing down his neck. Now that is it for the biggest winners and losers in the Australian Grand Prix. I'm curious to hear from you guys about your opinions of the first race of the season. So don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. Once again, thank you and bye for now.